What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brandon Smith. So earlier this week, I discussed the case of Maura Murray, and today's case has a lot of similarities. A 20-something woman who exhibits uncharacteristic behavior in the week before her disappearance and goes missing in the dead of winter. For me personally, I like to think of this case as Canada's version of the Maura Murray story. But unfortunately, this particular case has nowhere near the coverage of that case. And I just don't think that's fair. So allow me to bring just a little more attention to this case. The day is Sunday, February 17th, 2008. The song Low by American rapper Flo Rida featuring T-Pain is #1 on the Billboard charts. That's the second time that song has been #1 on the Billboard charts in these cases. The song was a lot more popular than I thought it was. Anyhow, the film Jumper, starring Hayden Christensen, Jamie Bell, and Rachel Bilson, is #1 at the box office. And tonight, the East, led by LeBron James, will defeat the West 134-128 in the 57th edition of the NBA All-Star Game in New Orleans, Louisiana, 2,900 kilometers north of New Orleans in St. Romuald, Quebec. 24-year-old Marilyn Bergeron purchases a hot cup of coffee on a cold afternoon. She looks agitated and is eager to leave the cafe. She pulls the gray fur of her winter jacket towards the brim of her scalp and shelters into the dimming afternoon landscape, never to be seen again. This day in mystery. Sunday, February 17th, 2008, in St. Romuald, Quebec, is cold and messy. With a daytime high of -2 degrees Celsius, precipitation in the area oscillates between snow and rain. 24-year-old Marilyn Bergeron has lived her whole life in the province, so she is used to the nasty conditions. Born in Chicoutimi, Quebec, Marilyn and her family moved to Les Hauts-Saint-Charles, a borough of Quebec City, the provincial capital, in 1998. Marilyn is a super curious child with an insatiable desire for learning. She studies music and thrives in the field, earning a degree in media arts and technology at Cégep des Jonquières Université. In 2005, Bergeron moves to Montreal. She puts her newly acquired degree to good use and does sound editing work for local TV stations in Canada's second largest city. She also has another job, and she works as a sales assistant in Steve's music store. However, over the next few years, Marilyn becomes dissatisfied with her surroundings. She yearns for the West. She wants to move to British Columbia, the westernmost part of Canada, and become a flight attendant. In 2008, her dissatisfaction becomes severe. She tells her parents that she no longer feels safe in Montreal and wants to return to Quebec City. She does not specifically say what is making her feel unsafe, but tells her mother, Andrée Bouchard, that she will provide more detail when she moves home. On February 10th, she abruptly leaves her apartment in the Hochelaga-Maisonneuve neighborhood of Montreal and arrives in Quebec City. Back at home now, it is apparent that something is deeply troubling Marilyn. She calls her sister Natalie and asks her, "Y a-t-il de la lumière au bout de ce tunnel?" Is there light at the end of this tunnel? And tells her that she never wants to return to Montreal ever again. When Natalie asks her why, she will not answer. Instead, she begins to cry and ends the call. On February 13th, her mother, Andre, makes her attempt at finding out what happened to her daughter in Montreal. Marilyn specifically denies that her problem involves drugs, debts, or a relationship. Andre presses on and asks Marilyn if she had been assaulted. The young woman's face takes on a pained expression, and she begins to cry again. She refuses to talk anymore, and her mother can only ask her to speak to a psychologist instead at a later date. On February 16th, after 2 trips to Montreal to retrieve her belongings, Marilyn has finalized her move back home. On the morning of February 17th, the youngest Bergeron tells her parents that she is going out for a walk. Wearing a long black overcoat with faux gray fur trim, suede boots, and a black backpack, she departs the Le Haut St. Charles residence at 9:11 a.m. At 11:08 a.m., CCTV footage shows Marilyn at an ATM at the Caisse Populaire on Boulevard des Lormières. She attempts to withdraw $60. During the transaction, she looks over her shoulder repeatedly, but surveillance does not illustrate anyone else in her vicinity. The transaction is declined, and she leaves the bank with no additional money. At 3:57 p.m., she arrives at a Café Depot in St. Romuald. Marilyn is now 23 kilometers from her parents' house. At 4:03 p.m., she pays for a coffee with her credit card. The clerk who serves her says that Marilyn seems depressed and eager to leave the store. She snatches the coffee from the counter and hurries out into the Quebec elements. The credit card is never used again, and Marilyn Bergeron disparaît dans la belle nuit de Provence. As the evening grows dark and Marilyn does not return home, her parents, already concerned with her increasingly erratic behavior, telephone the police to report their daughter missing. Quebec City Police quickly track down Marilyn's banking records and trace her to the Caisse Populaire ATM and St. Romuald Café Depot, but cannot determine where the woman went after this. They obtain video from both locations. The police, at first, will not let Marilyn's parents see the ATM security video, as they consider it to be too upsetting to show them. However, when they do relent, the senior Bergerons both agree that their daughter looks helpless. They also believe that in the video, Marilyn may be looking back at a car parked on the street outside, which she could have easily seen from her vantage point in the bank's foyer. While it is possible that she could have walked the 23 kilometers from the bank to the cafe in the 5 hours between the sightings, her parents believe that it is more likely that she was driven to the location by someone or hitched a ride. The following day on the local news, her parents plead with anyone who may have driven their daughter that day to come forward. No one does. They enlist the help of friends and blanket the city and surrounding area with missing persons flyers. Police interview people in the community, but no one other than the cafe barista reports seeing the woman on February 17, 2008. No one knows where she is, and Marilyn Bergeron remains missing. Jonathan Gauthier is a friend of Marilyn's from her college days in Cégep de Jonquière. He reconnected with Marilyn in Montreal in December 2007. In the past, Jonathan had known Marilyn as a cheerful and upbeat person, but on December 10, 2007, he meets a very different Marilyn. She is downcast and melancholy. The two are to attend a party that night, and Jonathan arrives at Marilyn's Hochelaga apartment to pick her up. He finds her in the pitch dark, listening to music alone. When they attend the party, her mood ameliorated somewhat, but after talking to a mutual friend of theirs, Marilyn suddenly becomes anxious and asks to leave the party immediately. Jonathan complies, and the two drive back to Marilyn's apartment. At her place now, Marilyn's mood continues to deteriorate. She starts crying heavily. Gautier, in an attempt to unravel the source of his friend's anguish, asks Bergeron if she had been raped or witnessed a murder. She emphatically denies both events, saying that what had happened to her was worse, and that he couldn't even begin to imagine what she had been through. Jonathan tries for hours to get her to say what it was, but ultimately gives up the inquest as he gets the impression that Marilyn does not want to put him in danger. Something traumatic clearly happened to Marilyn in Montreal. She left the city abruptly and vowed to never return. But what was it? Jonathan speculated that Marilyn's reluctance to discuss the nature of the event was done in an effort to protect those close to her from danger. The same danger that she faced from seeing what she saw. Did this danger follow her out of Montreal and finally catch up with her in St. Romuald on the afternoon of February 17th? Marilyn Bergeron was definitely scared. The perceived danger she feared kept her from revealing its origin to her friends and family. But how long could this protection last? The inquiry was sure to continue. To avoid further interrogation, Marilyn may have felt it necessary to go to the extreme. She may have felt that the only way to keep her secret from getting out was to get away. In January 2010, French journalist Claude Poiret was contacted by an individual who claimed to have seen Marilyn in Hawkesbury, Ontario, a predominantly francophone community just over 300 kilometers southwest of Quebec City. The informant claimed to have seen Bergeron quite regularly and believed that she was living in the town with a younger man. Quebec City police traveled to Hawkesbury to investigate the claim. When shown a picture of Marilyn, many locals, including regular customers at a downtown restaurant, also said that they had seen her there with a younger man on a fairly regular basis. Invigorated by the sightings, police staked out the downtown restaurant for a number of days. Marilyn Bergeron never appeared, and police returned to Quebec City without the missing resident. Witness sightings of Marilyn Bergeron have been reported from Vancouver to Halifax, but as of yet, none of the observations have been confirmed as indisputable. If Marilyn Bergeron wasn't killed for what she saw and didn't start a new life to protect her loved ones, there may be only one other very sad denouement as to her fate. Marilyn Bergeron may have chosen to end her own life. What she saw may have been so traumatic that the weight of the event proved to be too much for the young woman and she took her own life. Or, in parallel, Marilyn may have felt that even after getting away and starting a new life, her friends and family would still be in danger, so she made the ultimate sacrifice and ended her own life without telling anyone what she saw. Quebec City police believe that this tragic theory is the finality that caused Marilyn to disappear. They believe that on the afternoon of February 17th, Marilyn Bergeron, in an erratic state and heavy with despair, made the irrevocable decision to end her own life. They believe that Marilyn and Marilyn alone is responsible for her disappearance. All right. So what do I think happened? Well, first of all, I must admit, the case of Marilyn Bergeron is an extremely personal one for me. Marilyn is just 6 months my senior. I've been to Quebec City numerous times and traveled to Montreal a bunch in 2007 and in 2008. And the idea that I may have walked by this poor soul at some point in my life, ça me fait vraiment mal au cœur. Not that I could have done anything or changed the trajectory of her life, but just that at the crux of all of these cases are real people. Real individuals with real lives that really exist amongst us. All right. With that off my chest, let's start with what I don't think happened. Like the Quebec police, I also don't believe that anyone else was responsible for the disappearance of Marilyn Bergeron. Directly responsible, anyways. We know that whatever happened to change Marilyn, whatever she saw, happened sometime in 2007. Because by December of that year, she was already telling people that she had seen something and was acting differently. Marilyn didn't move back home until mid-February 2008. That means if somebody wanted to silence her for what she saw in Montreal, they had at least 3 months in that specific city to do just that. Why wait? Marilyn had even been back to Montreal just the day before her disappearance. So why travel 3 hours north 3 months later to silence a witness? I just don't get it. Because of this opportunity idol, I am ruling out this theory. I also don't believe that Marilyn started a new life somewhere else. Kind of similar logic here for me. Again, whatever she saw happened months ago. If that something was so dramatic that it forced her into hiding, why wait until February to disappear? Why go through all of the trouble of moving your belongings out of your apartment and making numerous trips back to the city you are so afraid of just to leave it all behind the next day? Plus, consider her actions on the day of. She tries unsuccessfully to withdraw money. She walks or is driven aimlessly through the city, then stops to buy coffee. It just doesn't sound like the foresight of a woman about to strategically abscond. Moreover, the majority of Marilyn's sightings take place in the town of Hawkesbury, Ontario. And while not widely covered throughout Canada, there was a goodly amount of regional output regarding the disappearance of Marilyn Bergeron, coverage that certainly would have reached the nearby town of Hawkesbury. Hawkesbury has a population of just over 10,000 people. I have been to Hawkesbury, and I'm telling you, if she was in Hawkesbury, she would have been located. So I am also ruling out this theory. So that leaves me with the saddest theory of all, and dismally what I think truly happened to Marilyn Bergeron. I want to make it clear that I 100% believe that Marilyn saw something in Montreal, and what she saw was catastrophically detrimental to her well-being. People don't just change their mindset and outward persona that drastically without some sort of external stimulus. What that stimulus was, I have no idea. And to offer my opinion on the subject would be rank conjecture. And as I've said before, that is not what I do. However, whatever the source of her dread may have been, I believe that on February 17th, 2008, the toll has become too much for Marilyn Bergeron. I am of the opinion that she moved back home in an earnest attempt to get well. But after spending just a week there, she knows she will never be rid of the hurt. As such, in the morning she leaves home determinedly with an ultimate objective in mind: She leaves with a goal but no locus. She scours the city for an apt environment. She stops at a bank. She keeps walking. She grabs a coffee. Still nothing. As the sun begins its descent, her aimless journey brings her to the shores of the Chaudière River. She sits down on the waterway's bank and looks out on the river as she drinks her coffee. With the turbulent memory playing over and over in her brain, she knows there is only one way to stop the recollection. She wades into the icy water and sinks beneath the dark wake. The memories subside as the liquid fills her lungs. Forgetful only in death, Marilyn Bergeron drowns. Marilyn Bergeron's mother and father have been confounded and devastated by the disappearance of their youngest daughter. They are also upset with the Quebec City Police's tenor in the investigation. The Bergerons are frustrated that the force continues to evaluate the case strictly as a disappearance or suicide without considering the possibility of criminal involvement. They want jurisdiction of the case to be transferred to either the Sûreté de Quebec or the Montreal Police, two investigative bodies with much greater resources. In 2015, they personally appealed to then Quebec Premier Listerio in an effort to finally have the case transferred. The request was denied. In 2022, the Quebec City Police maintains jurisdiction in the case and confirm that they still see the case as a disappearance, but insist that they continue to take it seriously. A $30,000 reward is being offered in the case. Thank you so much for listening to the sad story of Marilyn Bergeron. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I'm really interested in hearing your specific theories, so please weigh in on the comments below in either French or English, so that we can move forward in finding Marilyn Bergeron. And as always, just before I go, please know that you are a wonderful individual who is capable of good. If you are struggling right now, just remember that we are in this together, and you, buddy, are here for a reason. Please be kind to yourself at all times and treat those you come in contact with the same. I'm Brandon Smith, and I'll see you next time.